მაშინ მე დავიწყებ ჩვენს ნებართვით ორ სიტყვას ვიტყვი. One moment, please. Okay. My dear friends, my dear colleagues, my dear students, I'm really very glad to see all of you here today. We have a very interesting day because, first of all, this lecture, beginning of our international courses of archaeology for students and not only for students, not only for Georgian students. This is a main, most important things for me and for us today. And today also is birthday of our university, 100 years of our university. So we are celebrating this day also. I would like to give very short information about this idea. You know very well, all of us, that this coronavirus pandemic totally changed everything, almost everything in our life. And so we are losing somehow our communication. So I decided to ask my friends, my colleagues from European universities to think about the education of our students. And in this case, I was talking about the Georgian students. And to give some lectures during this semester, let's say 3 times semester. So this is first lecture now today, and last lecture will be end of June, the 8th of June. So I'm really very happy to see students from different universities now, not only from Georgian university. So now this is the information I would like to tell you. So I'm really very happy that this idea was acceptable for my colleagues from European universities, and I would like to express my great thanks to all of them. And now let me please to invite for opening speech of the ceremony, let's say, rector of our university, Tbilisi State University, Mr. Georgi Sharvashidze. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Licheli, and I'm really pleased to greet you all on behalf of Tbilisi State University. Today is indeed a very special day for us, for two reasons. First of all, it's the anniversary of our university, and we turned 103. And that's quite a number for universities in Kaukasus. Tbilisi State University was established as first national university in Kaukasus 103 years ago already. And secondly, because of this particular gathering, I would like to greet all participants of this conference. And we had a discussion with our colleagues yesterday from different universities in Europe and overseas. And all of us were experiencing the same problems connected with pandemic, connected with moving all our courses and lectures online, and that's something that, of course, Tbilisi State University is experiencing right now as well. We had to move quickly to different platforms, online platforms, and we did so despite the very fact that we had to do it in a way overnight in the course of 2 weeks to be perfectly accurate. And in 2 weeks, we moved 2,800 courses online. That's quite a challenge for our professors and for the students and academic community of our university, as well as other universities are doing the same. And therefore, I'm especially grateful to Professor Licheli for this particular opportunity that we're learning not only bad things from COVID lessons, but also the good things, and we can connect virtually and help our students overcome the hardnesses of pandemic. So I wish you all a very successful conference, and I hope to see you soon in Georgia in person. I wish you a very productive days and month actually of your meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, please, I would like to introduce first chair of our international course, Professor Paolo Biagi from University of Venice. He is one of the most famous specialists in stone archaeology, the best one. So it's my pleasure to invite Paolo. You now for a speech, please. I'm preparing presentation here for you. Okay.
Yeah.
So stage is yours, please.
So how? Yes. Very many thanks to Professor Licheli and also to the rector for the invitation to give a lecture to you. I thought you all were students, but in effect most of you are professionals. So maybe my PowerPoints are very oversimplified for everybody. But in any case, okay. I
Can you
how
see, Paolo? Can you see?
Okay, this is fine. I can see it very well. So I have
Okay.
subdivided. I have divided my lecture or whatever it is into three different stages. In the first, Professor Licheli asked me to talk about Dmanisi, which is a very famous site. Everybody knows about it. And then I decided to do something about the raw material, the exploitation of the raw material, just to put in between the first and the third part of the lecture. And the third one regards the researches we are carrying out at Chikiani, that is obsidian. So I hope it will be not too simple for all of you. But in any case, okay, we start with the first picture, which is again an oversimplified view of what the situation was is like now and what it was not until 30 years ago, and Dmanisi more or less 30 years ago, when Dmanisi was discovered. What is the situation, very generic situation of the Paleolithic, of the early Paleolithic of Asia and also Europe? How we subdivided when the first humans started to get out of Africa. We thought it was about 1 million years ago, but now we know it is absolutely different. That is, thanks to Dmanisi, we know that people started to move out of Africa for the first time about 2 billion years ago. So in this panel, you see the very simple stages into which we subdivide the first humans getting out of Africa and the second expansion of people out of Africa and the types of lithic tools they took together with themselves. The second one, next one, Vakhtang.
Yes.
Next one.
Yes, just a moment.
So,
Something is wrong with, just a moment, please. Sorry, wrong with. 1 minute, please.
we just click down and then it goes. Okay, no, yeah, the second one, number 2. So where did the story begin? The story began in Central Eastern Africa about 1 million years ago. Here you have an idea of what the geographic situation is like and the problems that people might have had to cross the straits to get into Arabia and then to move into India and then to move into Europe to move into Sorry? Okay. So if we move again to the third picture, you have a next one, Vakhtang.
Yes, please.
Okay. You have a very simple idea of where we have traces of the first hominins and or the first humans in Africa, for the simple reason that in Eastern Africa and Southeastern Africa, we have some geographical situations, some geomorphological situation, which and sedimentary situation, which allowed the preservation of human remains, which are extremely old. There is a tectonic gorge which moves from the Red Sea in the north down to Southern Africa, into which we have a very good stratigraphy, into which we have the possibility of dating, because some of the sediments are volcanic, and volcanic stuff can be dated not with the radiocarbon, which is too recent for dating, but with other methods. And we have very, very excellent sequences, and we also have a quantity, an incredible quantity of human remains and their assemblages. So the story begins here, and it continues into Europe and into Asia about 2 million years from now. What is the story of the human beings? Here you have on the left branch shows you what, and you have also a scale on the left, 1 million, 2 million, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and whatever. And the story we are talking about starts about 2 million years ago, where you see Ergaster, which is most probably the individuals which built up the settlement of Dmanisi, and then Erectus, and then antecessors, maybe Heidelbergers, Neanderthals, and we are at the very, very top of the scale. So let's go down to the next one. Okay, so these are the movements, some of the movements. We will see some more in better detail with the last slide of this part of the lecture. And the movements which imply the out of Africa by the first humans. So the arrows are not just some of the arrows which you might expect to be the real movements. For instance, you see that on the Red Sea there's an arrow which moves to the west, but you might have also an arrow which moves on the east, and so on. Anyway, in a very, very generic way, it might be perhaps acceptable, and it is not too old. It is just 10 years old. Next one. So where are located the most ancient assemblages out of Africa, that is in Asia and in Europe, dating to more than 1.5 million years ago? There are very, very, very few, as far as we know. You see Dmanisi over here at the top of the picture. You see that there is a site which is not so clear in the northern part of Pakistan. There are a couple of sites here in the Levant, and then there is another one which is located in central Saudi Arabia. So very, very, very few. But these are the earliest traces of human beings moved out of Africa, more less than 2 million years ago. And Dmanisi was very, very unexpected. No archaeology, no anthropologists at all would expect to have a site 2 million years ago, dated to 2 million years ago, until 30 years ago. And accepting this chronology was also not quite easy at the very beginning. Next one. So where is Dmanisi? You all know where it is. It is located some 85 kilometers south, more or less south of Tbilisi. It is middle altitude. It is a very, very famous site because of its medieval remains, because of the fortress, because of the church, and because of a lot of monuments. So geologians, archaeologists every year do some games in the site of Dmanisi. And here you have a very general idea what the site is like, taken from the upper part of the settlement with the walls, the church, and whatever. But what is of our main interest is, in fact, the lower part, where you see the green stuff, where you see the forest and whatever, because that is the part of the settlement which where the human remains and where the other stuff belonging to the early Paleolithic has been found. Let's move to the next one again. What was the landscape around Dmanisi about 2 million years ago. You see on the left two drawings, which are extremely simple and are the only ones which have been drawn by the Georgian archaeologists so far. And they show you two different situations, okay? What is Dmanisi today in the upper part, in the upper drawing, and what was Dmanisi 2 million years ago. Absolutely different. And there's another point which is very, very important. I don't know if you see my arrow. I think you don't see it. But anyway, Dmanisi is located at the confluence of these two small, very fast streams, just here, where there is a terrace. In the picture that is in the drawing below, you see the situation upside down. So the two drawings are not oriented in the same way. But you immediately see that there's something different, extremely different between the upper drawing and the lower one. Okay? The upper one is much more corrugated, for instance. The lower one is more flat. So the environment has changed very, very much during the last 2 million years because it is a volcanic landscape. So many changes occurred during the last 2 million years. And in effect, the settlement of Dmanisi was built very close to a water source, most probably a pond or a lake or whatever it was, as it is indicated by the stratigraphy of the site, by the sediments into which the materials, archaeological materials were found, and so on. So the drawing, even though the two drawings, even though they're not extremely clear, they're not very detailed, are quite reliable. And we have many data to tell that the situation was more or less like this, and the changes led to the present situation, to the volcanism of the landscape. What you see in the picture on the right, you see a stream, a very classical V-shaped valley, and the stream is running towards the north. And then where you see the plain at the top of the picture, it goes west towards, roughly towards Tbilisi. It is exactly the point where the two streams you see in the first drawing get together. There is a confluence of the two rivers, and the picture has been taken from the top of the terrace where the site of Dmanisi is located. So this just to give you a very rough idea of what the landscape was like, what it is now. And there's another point that's very, very important to know. You see the valley, okay, the V-shaped valley with the stream at the bottom. On the right and on the left, there are very many rock shelters and caves. So archaeologists did some trenches, they opened some trenches, they did some excavations into some of the caves, and what was the situation inside them? They never found any early Paleolithic tool. They found some middle Paleolithic, they found material which was later than 250,000 years ago, for the simple reason that these caves were totally obliterated during the early Paleolithic when Dmanisi was active. We move to the next one, Vakhtang. Okay.
Yes.
So this is another oversimplified picture, which gives you an idea, very simple idea of what the location of Dmanisi and Tbilisi also was like about 2 million years ago. You see on the left is indicated the Black Sea as it is now. Okay, the line, the simple line shows you the shape of the Black Sea, and on the right you see the Caspian Sea. But you see also there are stripes, oblique stripes. They indicated that the Caspian Sea and the Black Sea were conjoining. We have so many papers, most of them written in Russian about the corridor between the Caspian Sea and the Black Sea. And you see the location of Dmanisi is just out of these water, marine situations. There's another point which is very interesting, that you see also the Crimean Peninsula, which is so rich in archaeological sites of the early, middle, and whatever Paleolithic you want, also Mesolithic, is totally out of the presence of the sea. Okay, Tbilisi was not, Dmanisi and Tbilisi also were not so far from the sea, about 150 kilometers more or less, during about 2 million years ago when the site was settled. Next one. So what, okay, why Dmanisi was found? Dmanisi was found occasionally, okay? Why? Because the Georgian archaeologists, every year, the medievalists, they work at Dmanisi. You see in the picture, in the drawing above, a series of black lines, quite thick, okay? These are medieval buildings located in the forest I showed you in the first slide. And between them, you see lighter lines with some letters, 11, 1A, and whatever, and so on, some dots, black dots, and so on. Okay, these are trenches opened by archaeologists, and inside them there are also the indication of some material which are not medieval at all, but which are much, much older than that. And down below, in the picture below, you see also what the stratigraphy of the site is like. Well, we have to go back to two previous slides, that is number 11 and number 12, because we have passed by these two. Okay, we go back to this one because this is extremely, extremely important. This guy is a geologist of the Dmanisi expedition who took me to the site for the first time in 2005, and he is explaining to me what happened what happened during the excavations in those years, and he is standing on top of the bedrock, okay, and very, very close to the site, exactly in the location where the excavation is at here. What?
Sorry, somebody's microphone is open. So please hold your microphone, please.
Okay.
Switch out, please.
What you see?
Now it's okay. Okay.
Okay. What you see in the red circle is exactly the point where the first Paleolithic remains of Dmanisi were found. And how? Okay, this is a medieval site. This is a pit. This is a rubbish pit. They cleaned the rubbish pit, okay? They took all the material they found inside to the Georgian National Museum. And what did they find? They simply find that most of the material was not very recent, was not medieval at all, but within the bones, within the faunal remains, there were remains of animals and also other things which were extremely old because of the state of preservation and because of the species which were represented within this pit. So the story started with this occasional cleaning of the rubbish pit. In case they had thrown away all the material, Dmanisi couldn't be found in that year. So this is what happened, okay? Occasional. And the site again, the location of the trench where they found the first remains is again marked by this red circle in the picture below. So we can go down to number 12, all right, which is this one. this is exactly the same situation, but after 15 years. He is again a geologist. You see the horizontal levels into which the site has been excavated by the archaeologists. It is a rubbish pit, and this is what the site looks like nowadays. Okay, with you see at the top, you can see some grayish stuff. The grayish stuff are pits of medieval age or also or the Bronze Age. All the sediments below, that is the brown, light brown ones, and the gray ones are all Paleolithic levels, because the stratigraphy of the site has been subdivided into 6 main levels. We are going to see in the next slide number, the number 13. Can we go down? Next one?
Yes.
Okay, this one. So this is the way the site has been subdivided by the archaeologists. There are 2 main complexes, A and B. Okay, they put A below and B above. There's a clear subdivision at this point. And then there are 3 levels, 1, 2, 3 in the complex B above. And then we have 3 more levels in the complex below, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Okay, so these levels are not homogeneous. I mean, the quantity of material which is being retrieved from the different levels is not identical at all. There are some levels which are much more rich in finds, and most of the human remains come from the complex called number 6 and number 5. So, but anyway, we most probably don't have any great difference between the age of complex B and complex A. We archaeology, we cannot exactly, because the age of the sediments are so old, we cannot make very much differentiation between A and B. So it is roughly more or less the same. The assemblage is very difficult to study, and clear distinctions cannot be made. Anyway, the subdivision and the stratigraphy are quite okay, and everything is explained very, very roughly, very simply in the caption to the right. We can go to the next one, which is this one. Okay. This is quite recent. It's been published just a few years ago. It is in Russian. You see over here, Yama and so on. Okay, the pits excavated by medieval people, Bronze Age people, and whatever. And you see the location of one of the very interesting skulls here at the very, very bottom of the sequence. And again, the same skull when it was found over here at the bottom of the stratigraphies. And here the subdivision I told you about between complex A and the complex B is marked by this level indicated with just below number 3 over here. There's a very clear distinction between what is below and what is above. So what the archaeologists have found from an anthropological point of view is extremely interesting. 5 skulls, 4 mandibles, a lot of postcranial bones. That is a complex which is absolutely unique, because it is not so easy. You're very lucky when you find a piece of a human skull or a mandible or a couple of teeth or whatever. When you have a series of individuals, the situation is it's very beautiful indeed, but the point is that it is much, much more difficult to study for the simple reason that we are going to see in the picture number 16, if we move down, okay, this one. Look at these guys. They're all roughly contemporaneous. Maybe there are 5,000 years, 10,000 years or whatever between one and the other. But they're all absolutely different, which is it was very, very unexpected, I think, by every anthropologist. Look at this one. He looks like a Xenianthropus, in effect. There are other people who look much more like us, like this one. And you see them, you see their face, you see their profile, you see their skulls. There's already 2 million years ago, there was a very, very, very great difference between the different people who lived at the same site, more or less at the same age. And this was a big problem because for the anthropologists, there are different categories of anthropology. Many of them, the tendency of many of them is to cluster all the stuff together, and the tendencies of other anthropologists to subdivide and make more and more subdivisions between the finds that they have from the archaeological side. So I think it was published on Nature or whatever it is, but anyway, it is very, very important to remind what the difference is, the extreme difference you have between these individuals at the same time, roughly not 2 million years ago, a little bit less than 1,800,000 years ago, roughly. Okay, let's go down to the next one, just to show you the difference in the sites, in the different levels, these high up with medieval and Bronze Age structures excavated into the level, and but you see anyway that the material has been found in a horizontal position, and this is a lower one, level 4, with a lot of stuff. Some pieces are in very, very good connections, and then you have other pieces which have been, the archaeology have been capable to reconjoin. So the situation is ideal. There's another point that is very important to say, that when the first radiometric date was obtained, nobody believed that. So they said, everybody was absolutely sure that the date was wrong, because a date of 1,800,000 years was absolutely unexpected. And then they made more, and they resulted exactly identical. And what is the point? The point is that on the basis of this new knowledge, most archaeologists had to bring back the presence of hominins in Europe of about 1 million years. That happened with Italy, that happened with Spain, that happened with France, and so on. So everything until 35 years ago was basically wrong of 1 million years. And there's another thing which is very interesting. The idea, a very strange idea really, was that people moved out of Africa because they were very strong, they were very massive, and so on. And the situation is exactly the opposite, which is, okay, for me it's obvious anyway, for many people it's not. They were very, very weak people, small, gracile, and so on. And that is what the situation was like according to the excavations carried out at Dmanisi. Let's go to some of the assemblages. So when you study some assemblages which belong to the beginning of the Paleolithic, you don't have a very clear typological method to use. Usually, according to the different archaeologists, they use their own method because they classify them is extremely complicated. The method we use for classifying Paleolithic stuff is okay for stuff which, for material which comes from sites which are more recent than 400,000 years ago, and then for the Middle Paleolithic is okay. But when you have this kind of material, you have flakes, retouched flakes, you have choppers like this one, you have chopping tools, and so on. It is very, very complicated. But anyway, all the assemblages until I think 3 or 4 years ago have been published either in French or in English or in Russian. So the material is at disposal for understanding for seeing exactly what the Dmanisi material is like. There's something else. Okay, we move to the next one. There's something else. These are all chopping tools. But there's one piece which is refitting here, you see. And it is very interesting because it gives you an idea that the material was made, was manufactured on the spot. And the material which was used for making implements was local. They used a lot of different kinds of stuff, volcanic rocks, also chert, and so on. Very many different material which were local. What do I mean with local? Within a few kilometers. Usually archaeologists say local when the material has been collected from somewhere which is less than 40 kilometers. 40 kilometers is a number of kilometers everybody can make within one day. 100 others can walk easily throughout 40 kilometers in a day. So local material, different type of stuff, but also basalt, which is very, very difficult to nap. I tried, it's unbelievable. Andesite, but also limestone, chert, and so on. Okay, we go down to the next one. And this just is a level layer. So this material, which this is not the number, percentage of artifacts collected from the different levels into which the need has been subdivided. You see level 1, level 2, level 3, 4, 5, and so on. So most of the stuff is from layer 2, 83%. From the layers from which we have the human remains, we don't have so many artifacts, 3.2% from layer 5 and 0.6% from level 6. Okay, next one. So we finish with Dmanisi, but anyway, then we move to the next one. So this is another out of Africa picture. I always show to my students with even though the color, there are no colors, it's black and white. But anyway, you see the different arrows. Okay, these more point-like, and these more segment-like, and these a little bit light, and so on. These are the three very oversimplified wave out of Africa, which took place during the Paleolithic. One is about 2 million settling of Dmanisi. The second one is roughly around 800,000 years ago. And the third one is a little bit more flexible, is about 250,000 and 100,000 years from now, and shows the way modern humans, that is us, moved from Southern Africa across all the African continent to the Levant, and then they moved very, very quickly from this point towards Asia and towards Europe. So can we move to the next one?
Next presentation.
Next PowerPoint is PowerPoint number 2.
Yes, just one moment, please.
That is about the raw material, because I told you a couple of things about raw material during when I showed you the last slides, and
Please.
it is number 2.
Yes. I'm trying.
No, it's very easy. It's not very long, but anyway.
Yeah. I have to close this one. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Just one moment, please. It's just a few seconds, okay? Just one moment.
Can you do it?
Yeah, moment. Oh, recording is off. Oh, I need time for this.
It's Materials and Quarries. That's the name.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
A moment. Okay, please. Okay, it's okay, Paolo?
Yeah. Yeah. I think you can make the main picture a little bit. For me, it's okay. If it is okay
Full screen, you mean?
for the other people, for me, it's fine. Okay.
Okay, like this.
Okay, right. So why do I show you this? I show you this mainly because we finished with the raw material exploited by the Dmanisi guys, and then in the next PowerPoint I will show you something about Georgia again regarding mainly obsidian. So what is a material used for knapping artifacts all over the world? What is the material which is more common all over the world? It is chert or flint, and it is a sedimentary material which you can find is not easily, but when there is into limestone deposits, and this is the case for some areas of Pakistan where you see this nodule, this one, that one. Here's another one. Here's another outcrop, and this one again. You see the difference in the color. In this case, the material is brownish. In this case, a little bit grayish. Can be yellow. Can be black. Can be green. Can be whatever you want. And in some cases, not always, this material is ideal for knapping. We go down to the next one. And this is interesting because also for what I'm going to show you about Chikiani. What are these from the air? Look at the top left picture in the green. You see different shallow depressions. All these are mining pits, okay? The same is here, but in the forest. And the same is here down below in the picture, the lower picture on the right. You see, the landscape is like it's been bombed. It has been bombed. You know, people did some mining because they wanted to find some material which they couldn't collect on the first surface. They had to go down quite a bit. And this the picture on the right corner on the right side below is quite nice because you have also a ring very close to the different pits. What is a ring? The ring is a Roman camp. We are in Britain, and Roman camps in Britain, like everywhere in the world, nowadays are quite easy to see from aerial photograph when you have a completely deforested landscape. Okay, go down to the next one. And here you have an example. Just keep a little bit in mind the picture on the top left, and you see the same situation in the bottom left, where you have some trees which grew inside a shallow depression, because in a shallow depression you have an accumulation of water. And on the right you have one of these depressions excavated by archaeologists and going down, I don't know how many meters, I think a couple of meters might be also, very, very much more than that. Okay, next one. So mines are not so common, but anyway, there are quite a few all over the world. Some of them are huge. Some of them have been excavated for dozens of years. In Britain, you see on the left, these huge pits and then these tunnels, okay, these corridors have been followed by people during the Bronze Age or even a little bit before to exactly to follow the chert seam inside the limestone sediment. And here at the bottom you have a very, very oversimplified drawing of what a chert mine is like. The picture to the right is extremely interesting. I don't know if I have one more picture like this, a little bit below. No, but it is extremely interesting because you see what the situation is really like when you visit. When a mine is not for tourists, it's not being cleaned for tourists. When you have a mine which has been excavated, corridor of a mine, a tunnel which has been excavated by archaeologists. You see, there's a guy doing some digging on the left. There are some remains on the floor, and you see a situation which is a little bit different on the right side, because here you have like a cone or material, which is refuse material, which has been moved by this guy on the left towards the right. So the two walls of a tunnel, mine tunnel for extracting Flint, Chert is not identical. One is very, very different from the other because one has been excavated and the second one is where you have refuses. Okay, we go down to the next one, and here you have a huge example of the Grimes graves, which are Bronze Age but also late Neolithic shafts and tunnels and whatever, published in very many books by the British, where you have a very, very nice reconstruction of the staircases, of the platforms and whatever, to go down and reach the seam, the church seam to be excavated and whatever, and some of the tools, picks made of antler and so on, to excavate the tunnels. Okay, next one. Again, so these are, okay, this is a little bit out of the theme, but anyway, the deposit you have, which form is accumulated within a mine, are extremely interesting because they collect a lot of stuff. They are like medieval wells or whatever you want. They have a lot of organic material. You have a lot of finds which help you to date the different episodes into which you can subdivide the accumulation of the stuff until up to the top, which is always a little bit concave, okay, with two accumulations which from the top are a little bit ring-shaped. It is a very classical situation, and at the bottom you have also a piece of human remains, these bots, bones, due to the fact that people, when they were digging, you know, they had to eat some food. And here you have the accumulation of stuff, as I told before, and here you don't have any accumulation of refuses because of the way the site has been excavated during the Neolithic period. Okay, we go to the next one again, and here you have another interesting things, because not all the mines are so huge. Some of them are very, very narrow, tiny corridors, sometimes 20 centimeters, thick, 30, 40. They're very, very dangerous to enter, in fact. And there is a Neolithic mine, partly excavated in southeastern Italy, which is quite old. It's over 6,000 years before Christ. And here on the right, you have an idea of what a Polish Copper Age mine is like, with the black stuff is Chert on the right side, where the miners removed the limestone, and here you have the rubbish on the left. Okay, we go to the next one again. And the material which they used for digging, you have there's a Neolithic mine with the cobbles, removed from the limestone, and some also organic stuff which can be dated, picks and so on, and other different types of picks made of chert, because in some cases they didn't use wood, or they didn't use antler, they used stone picks to continue with the excavation. Okay, next one. Here again, what this is also interesting, I think, because I always show this to my students. Here you have shallow depressions, 1, 2, here in Poland, a very, very famous Polish mine of the Bronze Age, late Chalcolithic, also Neolithic, Strzemiowski, which can be visited by tourists. But you see the difference between the gallery, the tunnel on the right, and the tunnel on the left. The one on the right is for tourists. The one on the left is for archaeologists. So this is a real situation. This is a situation which the visitors can see, because otherwise it is a little bit difficult and a little bit dangerous for them. Okay, next one. Oh, this is another situation which I want to show you, because it can be compared with that we are going to see in Chikiani. Here we are in Pakistan, where in the central part of the Indus Valley there's huge quantities, thousands and thousands and thousands of chert mines, and all these circles, or whatever you want to call them, are chert mines, all of them, hundreds, everywhere. And this is a small excavation we made about 20 years ago, which took us about 6 months to be not completely completed, but to be made. Okay, next one. And this is again what chert mines look like. You hear heaps of rubbish, of material which has been extracted from the wells, from the shafts, and in this case, because we are very, very close to the desert, okay, you see these sand spots. That is this one, because the sand accumulates, the sand which is taken by the wind from the Thar Desert, which is located near these limestone terraces. Okay, this is a situation which is very, very interesting, very, very classic and ideal to see, because it's absolutely 100% treeless. So it is very, very easy to recognize if you have an idea of what this kind of archaeological sites are like. Okay, next one. And this is the excavation of the same site. Okay, starting the excavation over here, and then you see the accumulation of sand, which is natural sand, which is blown by the wind, and then the rubbish. Okay, I mean the cobbles removed by archaeologists during the Indus civilization, that is about 4,500 years before. Here you have the edge, the limit reached by the miners, and here you have the floor, and inside the floor you see very small, roughly 20, 30 centimeters holes, and inside the holes there were nodules of chert to be extracted, left as they were 4,500 years ago, which means in this case the situation was incredibly interesting, because the day before they were there, the day after they didn't go back to the site. That is unbelievable situation. Okay, We move to the next one again. And here again, again in Pakistan, you see trenches, you see 1, 2, 3 trenches. These are all excavated by during the development of the Indus civilization about 4,500 years from now. That is 2,500 years before Christ, middle of the third millennium before Christ. There are quite a few and most probably there are very, very many to be still discovered. The environmental situation is not that easy. Okay, next one. And is a way people nowadays excavate the limestone and extract the nodules. These Baluchi guys. And nowadays they use like a stick made of metal, and the work is very, very dangerous. And they make all the stuff drop down. As you see, it is we can call it like a conoid, and then there is a truck, a lorry, which collects all the material and brings it to the factories and whatever. They use this stuff for making roads and also for making metal roads. Next one. Okay, and this is what if you go to one of those sites and see what the material is like, you can find a situation like this, which is unbelievable, because people now like chert, and what do? They collect chert and they use it for decorating the houses, which is incredible. Here's another way of destroying archaeological sites. Okay, I think we can move to the third one. So I show you.
Just a moment, yes, please.
Yes, the Chikiani.
One moment.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Chikiani.
Yes.
Archaeology. Okay.
One moment.
Which is number 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, this one, right?
Yeah, okay. So this is the last part of the talk. Regards stones again, but quite recent. That is, at least most of them are Bronze Age materials. So, thanks to our friend Professor Licheli, it's been possible between 2012 and 2019, I hope to continue this year, to make surveys in a place which is nowadays called Mount Chikiani. It is located very close to Lake Paravani and the mountain was called, if you check one of the Soviet military maps and those old maps, you see that the name of the site was Koyundag. It had a Turkish name. This is the new name which is used nowadays. And this is an extremely important obsidian source. Not just one, but at least 3, most probably 4. And the top of the dome, the top of the volcano, is located at 2,417 meters of altitude. So the first this is what the landscape is like in general. Let's go to the second one. And we see another typical landscape of the Javakhishvili highland or plateau. This is not Lake Paravani, in fact, this is a Salka reservoir, which is artificial. This is a place where Kuftin, between 1936 and 1940, discovered a lot of kurgans, excavated a lot of kurgans, and was capable to publish a very interesting and very important book. And he introduced the names of Kura Rakses and I think also Bedeni culture names for the first time. So the landscape which we surveyed goes between 1,500 meters of altitude and 2,600 meters of altitude altogether. Next one. Chikiani is pretty well known. It was pretty well known before 2010. We had some ideas about the distribution of Chikiani stuff, mainly thanks to a paper written by Badalian in Germany, and we knew that the distribution of the raw material, that is obsidian, moves from the Black Sea around Kobuleti, which is located roughly over here, to the Caspian Sea and the Iranian border to the east. So Chikiani is roughly here. Okay, it's this one, more or less. Here we have other sites, other location of raw material sources. Obsidian is quite common in the Kaukasus. Chikiani was very well known. The name was very well known. The material was very well known, but the different compositions of the sources was not known at all. In effect, the papers that was written on the characterization of the material for Chikiani was based on 3 pieces of obsidian. There are a lot of millions, so that was not enough. That's the reason why the French colleagues told me to go and collect more stuff from certain points of the mountain and start making a serious, more complete characterization of the finds. Okay, next one. So just to give you an idea, okay, of the most important, you know them because you work on the Bronze Age of many of you work on the Bronze Age of the Caucasus. Arteni is quite famous. Syunik is very famous, and so on. These are obsidian sources located in Armenia, which has been studied maybe a little bit better than the Georgian one. Okay, they're all quite famous. Next one. But Chikiani is exactly this mountain you see at the bottom right of the picture. Lake Paravani is marked, is located very close to the yellow dot where Chikiani is located. You see Tbilisi, okay, the Lake Paravani, which is at an altitude of 2,000 meters. It is the bigger lake in Georgia. And on the right side, bottom right of the picture, you see 2 numbers, 2014, 2012. These are 2 very preliminary surveys I made to collect samples. Starting from number 1, white dot, and then moving to the other dots, black. I followed a very straight line because the French knew nothing. We all knew nothing about the location of potential raw material sources along the southeastern side of Mount Chikiani. Okay, so the work was very, very simple, extremely simple, and very, very systematic, and very incomplete. Next one, again. So what is the Chikiani obsidian like? It's very variable. It is not all the same. Much material is blackish, okay? Well, we have also gray stuff. We have striated, variegated material. You see light gray, dark gray, black, and so on. And then we have spot brownish, but we have also orange, and we have red. Okay. Going around Chikiani, you find usually black stuff, but you can also find something very, 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 very different. And so the suspect was that there were different sources, different raw materials, and they could be very easily characterized in a good laboratory. Next one. So I told you before that the distribution of the Chikiani stuff is quite huge. One of the interesting points we knew very well was that, and also 10, 15 years ago, was that the Chikiani material had been transferred, had been transported throughout quite a long corridor. You see, from here to there, maybe a little bit more, which is unusual for many other Armenian and also Russian sources which have a distribution radius which is not so huge, but Chikiani has. And okay, now the situation is a little bit different, but anyway, this is what the picture was like 11 years ago, 12 years ago. Okay, next one. The next one, Vakhtang. Can you move down? Okay.
This one? Again?
Yeah, okay, this one. So when, no, I think, let me go. Yeah, wait a minute. I'll tell you. No, the previous one. There's one before, the number 8. Okay. So this is when we started to make, as you've seen before, I showed you a few spots, 1, 2, 3, 4 over here, okay? And then I showed you a series of spots along the southeastern edge of the mountain. Chikiani is well marked in this picture. There's another point which is called Biketi or Biketi, I can't tell you exactly. There's another cone from which we have some material. And here in this picture, you see what you see. You see that there are some black spots with not a number, but with the letter A, B, C, and so on. What did we find in 2016? We started to find something which is 100% unusual all over Europe regarding obsidian. We know very, very little about we know something, but we don't know exactly how the raw material was collected, for example, in the Tokaj Mountains in Hungary and in Slovakia. We know very, very little about the way they exploited the material because it is quite rare. You know, there are bombs coming which came out of some kind of volcanoes. But Chikiani is okay. It is a volcano, but it is a dome. That is, it is rounded. So from this kind of volcanoes, we have lava flows, okay? And we know, according to there is a Russian colleague, Lebedev, who is very, very good and who knows the territory very, very precisely, extremely well. The sources formed between 2.4 million years ago and 2.8 million years ago. And this situation is in a certain way related also with the Dmanisi we've seen before that was settled about 2 million years ago. it gives an idea of the volcanism in the area just a few 100,000 years before. But I think the Dmanisi people could see active volcanoes around them in a landscape which was 100% different of what it is now. So Chikiani is here. Here you have A, B, C, and so on. What are these? Okay, I don't tell you. I will tell you in commenting the slide after. So next one. So okay, it is okay. This map was 100% unknown until 3, 4, 5 years ago. This is a survey made by the Russians during the 40s in the area. They did a very, very precise coring of all the mountains looking for perlite. The same perlite which is exploited very unfortunately for us nowadays, okay? But the location of perlite is very, very, very precise. There's a spot where the perlite is located, and the other spots have nothing to do with the presence of perlite. So unfortunately, they're digging everywhere. And it was made, I don't remember the author, but anyway, it has been redesigned just a few years ago, and it is extremely precise and very perfect. It shows you all the different, you see, realistic lava flows, perlites, obsidian, okay? Obsidian is located all over here, and it is located over here. There's a small spot over here. Okay, all of these locations, here, here, and here, you have obsidian mines, and these are unique all over Europe. There's nothing like this everywhere. If you want to find obsidian mines, you have to go to Central America or to South America. Nothing like this anywhere. And on top of the volcano, there are kurgans, which were excavated when, I can't tell you, because I have no idea. And if you watch Lake Paravani to the west, you see other kinds of volcanoes, okay, real volcanoes. Like this one, which is 3,300 meters of altitude. There are small moraines all over here, which means there was some kind of glacial action. And unfortunately, up to now, we've never found any obsidian flow or any obsidian bomb or whatever you want in this location. Okay, let's go to the next one. So these are typical Chikiani obsidian. Look, black, reddish, spotted blocks, huge blocks, whatever you want. And this is the southern part of the mountain. Next one again. And this is what we started to do. This is the mountain again in the yellow circle oval. You see where the mines are located. In the very beginning, we were not sure there were mines. We thought the Soviet did the exercises along the mountains, but I'm experienced in British exercises that they behave in quite a different way. They don't left these kind of refuses. So these were mines. Mines, shafts, opening of the shafts, which I'm going to show you in the slides before. And here you have, this plain, and along this plain there's almost nothing, but there are a lot of, there's a kurgan over here, there are kurgans further to the east, there are alignments, there are sites we mapped altogether. We mapped 450 and more than 450 kurgans of different types of different size and whatever, and megaliths, and there is a menhir very, very close to railway line, and so on. So it's a beautiful landscape ideal for archaeology. Unfortunately, it's being destroyed year after year. Next one. So this is what the mines, if you have in mind what you've seen in the Pakistani desert and what you've seen also in Poland or in Britain, The situation is identical. Small holes, shallow depressions, okay, all grouped together. These are mines. But the point is, these are not chert mines, which are very common to Europe. These are obsidian mines, which are absolutely impossible to find anywhere because they don't exist anywhere. And the difference between the main photograph and the photograph to the right low corner is that in the smaller picture you have yellow dots. Okay, the yellow dots are the depressions, the mines we were capable to map on the surface. And the gray depressions represent reality when you have the higher possible commercial satellite magnification picture. Okay, these are very, very good quality pictures from the satellite, and they show you almost everything. The quantity of quarries, of mines they opened is incredible. What does it mean? It means this raw material was extremely important for people, and in effect, everywhere you go, every site you find, every megalith you walk around, you have always systematically, you have pieces of obsidian flakes. I mean, flaked by people, not natural. Okay, always flaked. It's systematic within a radius of 50 kilometers, everywhere. In Salka, around the Salka Reservoir, around on the slopes of Lake Paravani, is always like that. Okay, next one. And this one, again, on the top left, you have other mines, okay, and lower magnification. But look at the color pictures. You see the shallow entrances of the shafts of the mines. And if you go to Lake Paravani, when you reach the Paravani Pass, you just look left with a good light, and you see this kind of landscape. And this kind of landscape is man-made because God didn't make this kind of landscape ever, because it is impossible. Okay, glacial landscapes are rounded, and they don't have this kind of depressions at all. Okay, if they are not moraines, and all of these are groups of man-made mines. So how many people were involved into this kind of work, and why was it so important? It was unbelievably important to these people, as metal was. But unfortunately, archaeologists in many cases, do not consider stones after a certain period, even though stones have always been used, also very, very recently. Fire stones or gun flints and whatever were made until just a few years ago. Threshing sledges were made until the 60s or the 70s all over Turkey and the Mediterranean. They were invented in the Kaukasus during the Copper Age. Next one. Okay, and this is what we find somewhere, just to give you an idea of the very nice pieces, okay? These are cores. Very symmetrical, very classical for the detachment of some kind of blades. You see the possible percussion everywhere. This is a beautiful end scraper. We found also just a few of these pieces walking along the mining area. Next one. Okay, again, drawings of the pieces you've seen before. The technology is very classical. You have the same kind of technology during the Bronze Age, also in India or in Europe or in the Levant and so on. It is more or less the same indirect percussion. Okay, next one. And this is very, very interesting because I have a couple of pictures, but I don't have the very well developed one. We found a couple of years ago, we found an incredible workshop and a platform on top of which they, during the Bedeni culture period, I think, they made arrowheads and spearheads, okay? And we have a different stages of preparation of the spearheads. So Chikiani was also one of the locations where they made this kind of arrowheads. And you know very, very well that inside the kurgans, in the chambers of the kurgans, in some cases, you have beautifully made, you know, ceremonial arrowheads. So all this stuff was very important. Obsidian was as important as metal was during that period. That involved a lot of, you know, a lot of people and a lot of different stages for preparing, for organizing, for digging, for napping, and so on, transporting and trading. These extremely important material. Arrowheads were made of obsidian during the Bronze Age, and also in the Caucasus, not only the Caucasus, and okay, of metal also, but this material was very much in use until less than, because also in Gragliani you have some, you know, sickles made of obsidian. I remember that very well.
Yes.
Okay. The next one. I think I don't have so many. And this is another situation which we investigated very superficially. It is absolutely intact location, which is fortunately is a little bit far from the perlite disaster. And here you have all this material is not natural. It is all man-made. And you see the difference between these scatters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this empty place where most probably there was a mining pit. And here, very close to this area, which is located to the left corner, low corner, you see the mining field. You know, the surface of the area is very undulating. It is undulating because they open quite a good number of mines because they wanted to obtain raw material from this place. There's another point, if you can go to the next one. There's another point that is very, very interesting. We characterize, up to now, we characterized about 300 pieces of obsidian, and the source is not one. There are 3 different sources, most probably 4 sources, which can be checked because they have very, very great difference between each other. So thanks to the new results, we can distinguish slowly, okay, we start distinguishing when one source was exploited, what was the radius of distribution of the material from that raw material source, and we can do that for the different sources from which of which we know the existence along the slopes of Mount Chikiani. Another find interesting is this platform. You see, there's a semicircular platform which is very, very rich in cobbles and blocks and flakes, the bitage flakes and whatever, of obsidian. And from this place comes one of the spearheads. What is interesting? Why is this interesting? Because we don't know any platform anywhere for chipping, for napping stones. And also because it is located 2.5 kilometers from the mountain of Chikiani, along a slope of another unnamed small cone volcano, which we called the neck. And why these people took the stuff from the lava flows to a place which is located 2.5 kilometers for making artifacts. This is another thing we knew absolutely nothing about until 5 years ago, until 4 years ago. So next one. Oh, okay. Not only artifacts, not only lava flows and whatever, but also kurgans. Okay, small ones. There are lots. And what is interesting is that some of them are aligned. We have a row of dozens of small kurgans perfectly oriented east, west, and north-south direction. They should mean something we cannot understand really. And we have small kurgans made just of obsidian blocks. That is also very interesting. Not only basalt, but also obsidian was used for. It might have a significance which I can't tell you about. Okay, next one. And alignments, which are unbelievable. And these are very, very much, you see, north, south, east, west, whatever. And one of them is 105, 6 more precisely, meters long, you know. And there's another point which is very interesting. When we open very, very small trenches, 10 by 10 centimeters, nothing more than that. And every time we open a hole, a small hole, we found obsidian. And these alignments are not very close to Chikiani. They are always 2 kilometers, 1.5 kilometers, or more than that. So, and all the obsidians have a percussion bar, so they were detached and transported, and they must have a very clear significance, which we really don't know about. Okay, next one. And this is, next one is more, next picture.
This one.
No, next one. These are the alignments. The next one is much more familiar to all of you.
This one?
No, I always see the same. I always see the alignments. The picture is number 21. No, this is the very down below. If you up more, number 21.
Just a moment.
Again.
Just a moment, please. Just a moment.
Okay, this one?
This is 21.
Yes, exactly. And you see a kurgan, okay, with a causeway oriented in east-west direction, which is located just, no. The one, okay, which is located just on top of a ridge, which is a classical position for a monumental kurgan. The diameter is 28 meters, but from this point, this is a kurgan which is very, very visible from everywhere, okay, and from which you could see everywhere to the east, to the west, wherever you want. It's very, I think it is very classical. One of the structures is much more recent, the corral over here. And then we move to the next one again. And this is something very interesting, because you look at the picture below. It is an alignment of structures, okay? Most probably a village which is exactly identical to those excavated and found by Sabine Reinhold close to the Elbrus, further to the north. In the North Caucasus, there are very, very many of these villages, and we found just 7. And it is not the most beautiful one, but anyway, it is quite huge. Maybe it is about 60, 70 meters long, 2 rows of houses and an empty place in between. And the menhir, which is very, very well known to everybody. But why the menhir is located over there, close to the pass? Because that is the limit of the area where people open the mines. East of the menhir, you don't have anything. You just move a few meters from the menhir to the west, and the mine starts. Okay, next one. Oh, and these are quarries, okay? Here we have basalt quarries. The basalt quarries are located very, very close to the stream, very close to a small lake. Okay, next again. So we are going. And okay, I think, no, this is not the last one. But anyway, this is a complete, not very complete, but anyway, is a more or less complete picture of the situation as it was in 2019, you see very close to the Chikiani and Inek Dag, okay, the fortress which is located very close to the lake. You see alignments of small kurgans, okay, they are precisely aligned one after the other. And then we have, you have the caption, so you see alignment, piece, arrowhead, or whatever. There is a Levallois point, a middle Paleolithic point, found where the triangle, where we put the white triangle. That is also very interesting because it is not made of obsidian, that's made of andesite. And we know that obsidian started to be, Chikiani obsidian started to be used at the very, very end of the middle Paleolithic, because Ekaterina Dornicheva is working on the middle Paleolithic of Armenia, and she found Chikiani obsidian starting from about 40,000 years from now. So these Mousterian people, middle Paleolithic people, most probably in this area, used andesite basalt instead of obsidian, which started to be exploited a little bit later at the end of the Mousterian period. Next one. Oh, again, distribution of size and so on. This is the area which should have been exploited by the perlite people. And in fact, they don't exploit anything all over here because there's nothing. They exploit other areas where they don't have any permit. But anyway, let's move to the next one. Yeah, and this gives you an idea, is not, of the famous kurgan, which has been published by the Georgian National Museum, okay, one of the huge kurgans with the chamber, whatever. And here are obsidian arrows, okay, beautifully made, never used, okay, they're absolutely new. But inside the chambers of these people with the chariots, with all the other stuff, gold, whatever you want, beads, necklaces, beautifully made artifacts, engraved goods, you also have this kind of arrows, and these are made of obsidian, okay? And is a typical tool for your hand, to repair from using the arrows. Okay, next one, which is the very, very last one. Yes, this gives you an idea of what our colleagues in Orléans, that is Professor Gratus and the others, made and what they are still making to distinguish the Chikiani obsidian and so on, but from all the others, they have parameters, they have components which are for them easy to identify. And you see here there are different groups, 1A, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. They grouped all this stuff into 3, possibly 4 different characters, okay? So the situation in Chikiani has changed completely thanks to the exams they did, they're still doing in Orléans. And also the archaeological situation is extremely complicated. I show you just a few things, but not everything, because it is even more complicated because we have very, very many structures, not only in the plain I showed you, but also very along the slopes from Mount Paravani and along the northern shore of Lake Paravani and so on. So that is what I wanted to show you. If you have any questions or whatever.
Yes, one moment, please. Okay, now, thank you very much, Paolo. This is extremely interesting presentation. So now we have time for questions in the comments. So please, discussion is open. Please, questions. Roberto is here, who is a specialist also. South Georgia, Javakhishvili, I mean, cyclopean constructions. Trying to get excellent work, so maybe you can give some comments, Roberto. Make some comments.
Yes.
Please.
Can you hear me?
Not very well.
Not very well.
Problem of my microphone. Now it's better.
Now it's okay.
Now it's better.
Okay. First of all, congratulations for the excellent work that Professor Biagi is doing in Javakheti upland. That, as Professor Biagi said, is a understudied area in southern Georgia, and this is an absolutely rich place. Currently, we are working with Professor Licheli in general survey in the entire uplands, related mostly to the documentation of the archaeological evidence related to the so-called Cyclopean fortifications. And in general, we are trying to understand the possible presence of an Urartian cultural influence in the southern part of Georgia as a result of Urartian activities in the area that are certified by the presence of a series of cuneiform inscriptions discovered just south of Javakheti. So I think that the work of Professor Biagi is absolutely interesting because it's putting light on these earlier periods of the frequentation of the Javakheti upland. I mean, so really congratulations and thank you.
Thank you. One of the problems is radiocarbon dating. You know, and it's very, very difficult to find charcoal for dating, and bones are impossible to find because of the acidity of the soil. And we radiocarbon dated one of the Bedeni chambers, and that gave quite a good result. It is published somewhere 2,500 years. In radiocarbon years before calibrated years before Christ, is 4,900 whatever. But we are looking for charcoal from anywhere, and up to now we found only quite recent stuff, 100 years, 150 years, and nothing else. That is one of the main problems. So it's not the same. It is the same problems you have in the Balkans. You know, in the Alps it's quite easy, very high altitude, pretty high altitude, to find charcoal everywhere of different ages, from the Paleolithic, from the end of the Upper Paleolithic to yesterday. But in the Caucasus and in the Balkans, it is so difficult, and I don't understand why. Nobody knows why, you know.
Okay. Another question?
They don't put themselves the problem.
Another question. Tekla, we are waiting your question. Yes, please, Walter. Yes, we are listening.
Yes, thank you for your great presentation at first. And I wanted to ask a question about Dmanisi. You asked that there is 5 types of different schools. How do you think, what is the reason of this diversity in this school? Where they living at the same time, and they united as a one kind, or they were living at a different time and were like neighbors or something like this? You
mean the difference in the individuals?
Yes, because these individuals.
The point is that differences we had no idea about. I'm not an anthropologist. We had no idea at all about this, but differences had already started 2 million years ago. We are all different, we're all similar, but we're all different. Okay, but 2 million years ago it was absolutely identical. You know, if the anthropologists had found these 5 different skulls in 5 different sites, they would have said, okay, this is this, that is something else. but in fact, they're all the same stuff. And this created a very, very big problem for the anthropologists, because the differences are very striking. There's a guy who looks like a Zinjanthropus, 5 million years ago, and there's another one who looks very much more like us. So it means that already 2 million years ago, and most probably well before, there were extremely visible differences in case you find a site like Dmanisi, which is so far unique, where you have people not buried, where you have remains of people inside the settlement. That is the point.
Okay.
The point is, okay, clearly speaking, we know nothing about it. That is the point.
Okay. Okay, Walter, we are asking your question, please.
Dear Paolo, thank you very much, also from my side. So it's very, very interesting as usual. And maybe
keep it serious for me.
Maybe I just lost it because my internet connection is not so good. But I would like to ask you, in regard to this structure, this living structure, you compared with Reinhold Sabine's one.
Yes.
Have you excavated? Have you some details about the dating of these structures, the relation to the mining?
No, we don't. Unfortunately, we don't have any. I wrote to Sabine, and she said they are exactly identical. Some of them are exactly identical to the ones we have further to the north. If I have some money and if I have some people, in effect, not next year, but within 2 or 3 years, I would like to open just one of the rooms. The rooms in some cases are rectangular. They are precisely oriented in, I think the opening is southeast, and they are upsides, like a church, rounded. One of the edges is rounded. And yes, I think it is extremely interesting, extremely important to date them and to have a good plan of at least 1 or 2 of the houses, because they are too important. Now, I've seen through Google that 1.5 kilometers to the northeast, there's another site like this, bigger, with the houses oriented in the same way. And if I have time in July, I will go and have a look at that. But we never, we never did any excavation ever, because, but I think it is, in this case, it is necessary to do something mainly for collecting material for dating.
Okay, good. Good. Another question, please. Questions, please. The Chikiani team or students?
Hi.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes.
Because you asked for very people. One question. It's obsidian is, as I know, a kind of volcanic glass. Is it differently set together in chemical-wise? And is it possible to find out by chemical analysis how far the obsidians are spread from the sites you showed us, and if they are probably traded, even in those times, traded for over a long period or a long distance?
Yeah. The way you mean I can't, because I don't have the data here with me, but anyway, I can send you the papers. In Orléans, they use that method, which implies the making of 3 different craters. Okay, they don't use XRF, which is not exactly precise, but what is that called, LAIC or something like that. They use that method because they are much more sure, and they wanted to identify very, very precisely the different sources and that is. But if you just send me your address, I will send you the paper regarding the different analysis. And the stuff was in use from 4,000 years ago, roughly, up to, I think, historic times for sure, the first millennium before Christ for sure, because in Chikiani we still have some sickles made of obsidian, and flakes are regularly found almost everywhere. I think my impression is that the commonest kind of artifacts they made were denticulated sickles, which is a type extremely interesting we don't have in Europe, and these very sophisticated types of arrowheads.
Okay, thank you very much.
No, thanks to you.
Okay, please, a question, please, or comments. Okay, so Paolo, thank you so much for your.
Thanks to you for coming.
I think I am sure that this was very, very useful for all of us, not only for my students.
you can give my PowerPoints. You can spread around the PowerPoints to everybody. I'm not jealous.
Okay, thank you very much, and I hope very much that we'll continue this year to work together in Javakhishvili, and as always, I'm sure that it will be successful.
Let's hope so.
So. Thank you very much for, especially the Dmanisi, which is very well known archaeological site. But your publication about Dmanisi is the most useful one for students, because this is the explanation of meaning of Dmanisi, what it means, why Dmanisi, as well as you're showing now this workshops. We say plenty of workshops you discovered on the territory of South Georgia. This is unique, and thank you very much for this discovery. You made it so. It was unknown. So thank you very much for everything. Thank you very much for your feedback. Thank you very much for your lectures. I hope very much that after next year we will continue to invite you again. And I hope
we will go to Varzia also. Bye.
Okay,
See you then. Bye. See you next time.
Thank you very much, everybody. I'm really very happy to see you again. And so we have another meeting dedicated to the early Bronze Age, the culture in Georgia, the Kaukasus. So I hope to see you again. Okay?
Sure. Yes. Why not? Yeah. Okay. I agree.
Okay.
Bye.
So,
see you.
Bye.
Okay, see you. See you, everybody. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Professor. That was very, very interesting for us.
Everybody. See you next time.
Thank you very much for a very interesting presentation.
Thank you.
Okay. Altona, you are going to say something. Altona is trying to speak, but I can't hear.
Bye. See you, Vakhtang.
No. Okay. Bye.
Next time.
See you later. See you. All of you.
Later. Oh yeah. See you next time.
Bye.
Okay.